When we think of JoJo, stand powers is probably what will come to our mind. Because we've been dealing with that kind of power for more than 20 years now, it can be easy to forget the simple beginnings of the story when Hamon was the main fighting style. Phantom Blood was first released in 1987 and received an anime adaptation in 2012. So, did it hold up 25 years later? Let's find out. The first part of this series is pretty straightforward, taking heavy inspiration from Fist of the North Star. Because of this, if you've seen or read any 80s shonen action series, you'd have known what to expect when jumping in. However, it really is carried by its bizarre nature. When watching, this is our first time ever experiencing the show's bizarre colour palette and crazy poses, so this gives it a unique sense of individuality when watching that easily sticks with you despite the pretty standard premise the show has. Vampires are pretty normal enemies, and there isn't anything overly complex about Hamon either. During Phantom Blood, it is basically just a way to kill the enemies, working in a similar way to how Haki lets people hit Logia users in One Piece. Because of the limited powers there are, the part doesn't really have the unpredictable nature of fights that it later becomes known for. However, the small amount of variation in the abilities minor antagonists possess do make the fights stand out to each other, partly because of the small cast. The short length of the part also makes sure they don't ever outstay their welcome, with some fights only lasting minutes. These minor villains are honestly very well done, as the battles outside of ones against Dio Brando do a good job of progressing the story. The fight against Speedwagon gained Jonathan his first ally and demonstrated the Joestar's nobility, Jack the Ripper showed us the power Hamon can have, demonstrating Zeppeli's ability, Doobie showed us how Jonathan had grown from his training, and Bruford and Tarkus gave Jonathan the power to defeat Dio and gave him his sword, the Luck and Pluck. Outside of this part, there are many complaints about filler fights, and whether or not you agree with that, it's nice to see at the beginning every fight has a purpose. While Phantom Blood takes inspiration from other manga of its time, the tone of the part makes it stand out in the series. The first episode starts off with a gruesome image of a man impaled through the head, and this sets the tone for the horror vibe the part gives off. There is a real sense of despair as we follow Jonathan's adventure, perfectly complemented by the moody blue skies. Furthermore, while every part is violence, I don't think they use it for the same effect as Phantom Blood does, as there is some genuinely disturbing scenes here. The part has few light-hearted moments, and it makes sense, as at its core the story we see is one of loss, of tragedy. This feeling the show conveys really does a lot for Jonathan, as it makes his character all the more respectable. Jonathan Joestar is not a very complex character, and by the second episode we have a pretty good idea of what he's about. He's very noble and comes across as a perfect protagonist as far as morals go, as despite the hardships he goes through he retains his pure-heartedness in this simplified battle of good versus evil. While he may not be as badass as Jotaro or as funny as Joseph, what he does have going for him is one of the best relationships between a main character and villain in the entire series. Dio and Jonathan come from completely different backgrounds, and very quickly we can see the disdain Dio holds for the Joestars. Dio hailed from poverty and was treated like dirt, and this spawned a desire to never be looked down upon ever again. Because of this, he developed his egotistical manner and hatred for the rich, which he expresses through the way he treats Jonathan. Right from episode 1 there is genuine reason for the hatred he has, and it makes their battles all the more compelling. The story of Jonathan and Dio has a beautiful climax in episode 9, and Jonathan's death is completely unexpected, which makes it such an impactful ending. His life is one of hardship, and in the end he couldn't get a happy life with Erna like he wanted. Seeing him seemingly release his anger towards Dio was so fitting of his character, and the entire ending was very bittersweet. It's not every day that the main character of a series dies, and I feel like the way it was handled in Phantom Blood did a good job of letting fans know what to expect from the series, with no one being safe from death. Overall, Phantom Blood is a very effective introduction to the series, while also providing something unique to JoJo with its horror elements. While cliché, it has its own strengths that it uses to make it an enjoyable piece of work with an interesting cast. And that is why Phantom Blood works. Hey everyone, thanks for watching, appreciate it. If you want more content from me, I collaborated with Super Kami Gaming on his channel where we talk about Jobin, the possible JoJolian antagonist. So check that video out, and of course check out his channel as Kami does some awesome JoJo content. Thank you, and I'll see you later.